The Brewers might have a solution if Willy Adames, like we think, is going to free agency. But man, we all love to keep him. We'll talk about Willy. Will he stay or will he go? All that coming up next and a whole lot more on this edition of Locked On Brewers.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It was a great Labor Day weekend, wasn't it? Doubleheader win on Friday. Saturday, Chourio hits the home run late in the game at the top of the ninth inning. Sunday, they lost, had the lead, and then they come right back, as the Brewers always do, minimize those losing skids, and come up with a 9-3 win. Good to have you along. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Longtime sportscaster here in the state of Wisconsin and host of Locked On Brewers for the last year and a half or so, and loving every moment of it, especially when our team is like it is. We're going to talk more about our team a little bit later on in the podcast. But first, we're going to talk about Willy Adames. But this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5, get a 3-week free trial of the NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube TV. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. The NFL starting up this week. All right. Willy Adames has taken his fair share of criticism from Brewers fans over the years. Yes, he did not have a very good year last year. But what did he do this year? In a contract year, we've seen players do this. He's just been amazing. Now, hit his 29th home run on Monday. Homers in 5 straight games. His 13th 3-run home run of the season. Set the tone in the first inning. And Willy just had an amazing week. I mean, just amazing. No way better to describe it. But the guy, his launch angle, he's glued in, and he's just, man, a key cog in this team. I mean, you watch Brewer baseball, you know this. I mean, I feel like every time that guy comes up, he's going to do something special now. Just like Chourio, but Willy Adames, the veteran, who turned 29 on Monday and rewarded us all with a 3-run jack to set the tone. And right then and there, even if you weren't sitting in your seat yet at AmFam Field, you knew the Brewers were on their way to a win, especially with Freddie on the hill. I don't know if Freddie pitched all that great, but still, Willy Adames. We're here to talk about Willy. And with the big week he's had, and even before this, the question is, should the Brewers go down that road and give Willy Adames a big-time contract? Now, the skepticism in me, because being a Brewer fan, this is the way we think, right? Unfortunately, this is part of it, okay? All right, the Brewers gave a big contract to Ryan Braun, didn't work out. Yelich, you could argue it's not been great. Not what they paid for. Braun, too, okay? Since the contract, since both guys signed their contract. Since Braun signed his contract extension and same with Yelly. Boy, isn't a part of you like, boy, if the Brewers do go out and give Willy 4 years, 160, and I'm just throwing those out there, 4 years, 160, would that come back to bite him? Because the Brewers can't afford this. The Brewers can't afford to give another guy, a big-time contract and have him fall on his face. And I'm not saying Willy is going to do that, but, you know, if he reverts back to the year he had last year, you absolutely could not have that if the Brewers are going to go down that road. Now, I will tell you this. All indications are that Willy's not going to be coming back to the Brewers next year. I've been telling you about that, you know, pretty much all off-season last year and this year. There's never been really much of a talk of a contract extension for Willy Adames. That it's kind of been known on all sides that even when the owner, Mark Attanasio, was asked, in so many words, not that it would take a miracle for Adames to say, but it probably would, and that they're going to live out the rest of this contract. And if the Brewers were not in the pennant race, Adames would have been traded at the All-Star break. Of course. If the Brewers were not having this type of year, and there was even some rumblings around the All-Star break that they traded Adames. Thank God they didn't. because I'd rather lose the guy to free agency than not have him on this team, because I'm telling you, if he was not on this team, it might be a tighter race in the NL Central. In fact, it would be a tighter race. Jackson Chourio and Willy Adames, the 2 MVPs on this team. And I'm going to give it to Willy right now. Willy is the MVP of this team. There's no doubt about it. Brewers do have a history of letting guys go in that contract year. We can talk about CC Sabathia. They gave him a token offer of like $25 million a year, $25 million a year, but they were never going to bid with the Yankees. Christian Prince Fielder, I believe they gave him a token deal, but they weren't going to compete with anybody. Okay. And Paul Molitor, they never really gave him any contract. And that was 3 years, $9 million, or what, 3 years, 4 years, $12 million in that ballpark, $3 million a year. In 1992, the Brewers were not going to pay Go figure. Brewers were not going to pay one of the best hitters in baseball of all time $3 million a year. But they did it to Yount, but they wouldn't do it to Molitor because he was only a DH, was the words that we had heard. But so, will the Brewers do this again? They paid Yount. Okay. They paid Yelich and they paid Braun. There's probably other guys too. Okay. But I'm talking hitters here. They paid some of these guys, and you could argue that Braun and Yelich did not get the bang for their buck. With Adames, I don't know. I am on the fence with this one. Part of me says, man, they got to go out there and they got to give him the money. What would you do at shortstop? Obviously, if Ortiz moves over to shortstop, then you're filled with a hole at third base. Brock Wilkins hitting .205 at Biloxi with 14 home runs. Right now, he's not an option. If he had a better year, yes. Who would play third base on this team? You'd have to go out and get yourself a rental until you figure out if Wilkin can figure it out. First round draft pick in 2023. But I would say that would be the case, because there was a hole at third base this season. There was a hole at third base this season until Ortiz stepped into it. Okay. And I thought maybe when they got Ortiz that he was either going to be a safety valve for second base with Turang, and then Turang figured it out in the offseason in spring training. And, now he's an everyday second baseman. There's no doubt. A shortstop, I thought maybe it was a safety valve if they wanted to trade Adames in the offseason. They never did it. So Ortiz playing third, doing a nice job over there. No doubt about it. Doing a nice job. He's got a glove. But I'd move Ortiz to short. And if you didn't sign Adames, which I would say is a 90% possibility, you better find yourself a free agent third baseman. And not one of these aging 40-year-old third baseman that's coming off the scrap heap. That's not working. All right. If you're not paying Adames, you better pay somebody who play third base to take Ortiz's spot who's moving to short. Again, we ain't messing with that bargain basement stuff here. We're trying to win pennants. But that's looking it down the road. In the offseason, will they pay Adames? No. But 4 years, $160 million. They would have to get in the bidding war, I think, with the LA Dodgers. The Dodgers love him. And I think that would be the place he'd end up. Shocker. Okay. Again, a problem with baseball where you can't re-sign your own guy. Because when I hear people argue for the big market, small market stuff, and I'm not going to go down that road. When people want to say, well, look at Milwaukee. They're rolling along, third best record of baseball, small market. Yeah, we're not keeping Willy Adames. All right, we're not keeping these guys. And when we do keep these guys, okay, taking every last cent and a 25% of the payroll, and the guy doesn't produce, then we're in trouble. So Adames, if they do sign him, hold your breath that he lives out that contract and is a superstar, because he's playing like a superstar right now. He's playing like a bona fide all-star shortstop. I mean, he's on a roll right now. Is he going to hit a home run every game for the rest of the season? No. But he's probably going to finish with 35 home runs, I would say. 33, 35 home runs. He's going to continue to hit home runs. There's no doubt about it. and lead this team. But 13 3-run home runs. How many of those, again, were ones that flip ball games? Or like today, Monday, put the team in firm control of the game. He tied a Brewer record, 5 homers in 5 days with Eric Thames and Jeremy Burnitz. Burnitz did it in the late 90s. Thamesy did it a few years ago. Remember with Thamesy, they were testing him after every game. Remember that? How stupid that was? They were testing Thames. We'd be interviewing Thames in the locker room or looking for him in the locker room after he was hitting home run after home run. Oh, where's Thames? Oh, he's they made him take a test. Remember that with Eric Thames back in 2017, I want to say. I liked Eric Thames. Good guy, good person, and always checked out. When I say checked out, I mean he never flunked any of those drug tests. Good guy. I liked Eric Thames. So, Willy Adames, do we pay the man or do we not? I'm leaning right now to not, because I'm the pessimist in me with being a Milwaukee Brewer fan, thinking, okay, he's going to be turning 30 next year. Are the injuries going to start creeping in and all that? I know he's having a great year, and man, it would suck if he went to the Dodgers and even took it up further a notch and he came back to bite us in the playoffs. But right now, I would say you just can't. I'd love to. I don't think you can. I don't think the Brewers will. I just don't see it happening. I don't see it happening. But I'm sure going to miss him. Man, that launch angle he's got, man, I wish in golf I had that launch angle. That launch angle that he's got, he's got a master's degree on the launch angle. Watch his batting stroke in slow motion. If you go to YouTube, not now, well, you're on YouTube probably watching this video, but don't X out of my video or my podcast here. But check it out. Check out his launch angle. Wow. That's the kind of launch angle batting coaches around baseball wanted a couple of years ago. You know, when it was home run or nothing. What a launch angle. We're still preaching some of that still, but not as much, I don't think, as it once was. So, Willy Adames on his way to 35 home runs. Brewers win. Brewers win again, and a great weekend for the Brewers. We'll talk about that coming up next and look ahead to the next few games against the St. Louis Cardinals. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. All right, guys. Went to the game. I heard people text me all the time. Chuck, what's the best way? Friends of mine, what's the best way to get into games? What do you use? Gametime. You want great seats on that first level at AmFam Field? Maybe the Bucks game? How about tickets to wrestling when it comes to town? Whatever, concerts. Gametime is the place to go. Gametime. Customize your spot. You get super deals. You see the seats, the actual seat views before you buy. All in pricing. So no surprise fees at the checkout. So you can get all in pricing right away. You just got to toggle it and you're good. Panoramic view from your seat right before you buy. You'll see it. And that's the seat I want to buy right there. I want that seat. I've got seats right behind the visiting dugout. Dirt cheap at Gametime. Lowest price guaranteed, or you'll get a credit of 110% of your discount. And of course, your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So, you got to do a few things here. You got to go to Gametime. Go to Gametime, create an account. Get the Gametime app. I've downloaded it on my phone. Create an account. Use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. Locked on MLB. You'll get $20 off your purchase. You got Tuesday and Wednesday Brewer games here. Tuesday, Wednesday Brewers games against the Cardinals. Okay. And then this weekend against Colorado. But download that app, create an account, use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB, $20 off your first purchase. You pay $70, you'll pay actual $50. Terms apply, and create an account. Download Gametime today. What time is it? It is Gametime. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers. A part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Just chomping at the bit to get to the podcast here on a Monday night, early Tuesday morning, especially after that Brewer weekend. Yeah, they lost on Sunday, But, as predicted, these guys are just predictable. They lose one or two in a row, they come back and they win. They win. I put a tweet out. I said the Brewers there's a lot of average. One thing is that this doesn't take anything away from the Brewers. There's some average to bad teams in baseball. I mean, you think about the good teams, the Phillies, the Dodgers, the Brewers, Arizona. I'd put San Diego in that. I'd put like 5 teams in the National League that I would say are good. I don't think any of those teams are great. Nobody's great, the Brewers included. I mean, the Brewers, I put Brewer greatness, but they're playing great. I love them. I can't say a bad thing about them these days. They're just rolling. But I'm telling you, this National League is so winnable. I mean, I see the Dodgers play. The Dodgers rolled on Arizona on Monday. Watched a little of that game. Yeah, I've seen the Phillies. I've caught their act. They won their last 2 games against Atlanta. But the Brewers can be right there with them. Right now, the Brewers, in the race for the top 2 seeds, Dodgers got 55 losses. Milwaukee's got 57. Philly's got 56. So the Dodgers with 55, Philly with 56, Milwaukee with 57. Milwaukee's one out in a loss column from second place with Philadelphia. And they got that 3-game series coming up later on this month. And they're 2 games behind the Dodgers. It is almost laughable. Because I remember going on 3 national talk shows back in February and March. 3 shows, and all 3 of these national guys talked like the Brewers were dirt. Okay, calling us, well, they're probably finishing 4th or 5th place. And I said, well, I made a joke. I said, well, we're not going to finish in 5th. That's usually reserved for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Nice win over the Cubs on Monday night for the Pirates, by the way, with our guy Brian Reynolds coming through and McCutchen with the tie-breaking home run to end the Cubs winning streak at 6. But I digress. The Brewers it's such a winnable division right now. And that's what I told those guys. I mean, the Brewers are going to win the division, but I told these guys in the preseason, it's such a winnable division. Don't count out the Brewers. Okay. I did have Cincinnati winning it. I was wrong. Well, I was dead wrong on that. I was dead. I thought the Reds were going to build on what they did last year. Brewers are way better. And the Brewers are built for winning this division with or without Adames for the next couple of years. They should be the favorite next year to win this division. I don't want to hear about the Cubs, Cardinals, or anybody else. Brewers are better than the Cardinals. Their future is better than the Cardinals. Their future is better than the Cubs, Pirates, you name it. In this division, the Brewers are the best team in this division. This is their division. They should be picked to finish in first place next year. Okay. But I went on these shows, and all 3 of and there was a couple of different hosts. A rebuilding year in Milwaukee. Winning with young guys, retooling, winning with young guys, getting these guys experience and continuing to win, just like last year. But 4th or 5th place in the division. Now, I had them in second. Behind Cincinnati, competing for a wild card spot. Well, they are competing for a wild card spot, but they're comfortably ahead in this division and looking for better. How about Chourio? Man, continues to put his name in greatness. It's almost predictable when he comes up at the bat. And that's a good thing. It is a good thing. We'll get to that coming up next. Chuck Freeman here. I'm Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. FanDuel. FanDuel is America's #1 sports book. A buddy of mine did tell me, he said he was going to bet on St. Louis on Monday. I said, don't do it. Not off a loss. Not the Brewers after a loss. Do you realize if you doubled your money, and I'm not telling you to do this, if you doubled your money after every Brewer loss, you'd get your money back because they never lost more than 3 in a row. I'm just thinking about you up. I mean, it's a dangerous way to go, but I'm just saying. You keep double up. Don't do it. I'm not just telling you, don't take my advice, but they've never lost more than 3 in a row. But anyway, FanDuel. FanDuel is America's #1 sports book for a reason. Well, they got something a little different for you this time. Through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5, get a 3-week free trial of the NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube or YouTube TV. Then, with your YouTube-based plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season NFL Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment. You can cancel anytime. Visit FanDuel.com. Download America's #1 sportsbook for a reason. Brewers were 155 favorites on Monday. See, they're 140 favorites on Tuesday. You see, like in Cincinnati this weekend, there was a game, they were the underdogs. Huh? They were like a plus 102 underdog in one of those games this weekend. Yeah, after the first game of the doubleheader on Sunday against Cincinnati, second game, Brewers were underdogs. I'm like, huh? Oh, come on. Come on, you're kidding me. And the Brewers scored 10 runs in the 10th inning. Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Well, I hope we aren't crying in October. And as euphoric as we are right now, do you realize September 5th, what's that, the second in a few days, a month from, Thursday or Friday, whenever the 5th is, will be the start of the baseball playoffs. I think the playoffs are the first Saturday. Well, the wild card games are earlier in the week. So actually, it could be this. If the Brewers get in a wild card round, they'd be starting about a month from now, I guess. Yeah. I guess I was looking at if they got a top 2 seed, they'd miss that first round, and they would play that Saturday in game 1 in Milwaukee, if it worked out that way. But I do have to tell you, again, when the Brewers are doing these great things and it's fun and we're loving it, there is always a little bit of hesitation for October. Because, man, we've been down this road. I'm not going to belabor that right now, but holy cow. I mean, they're just playing such good baseball. And I've seen this all the way from 2008 and other years as well. You remember Craig Timber when they get on fire? Well, August, they got hot. And still continue to get hot and stay hot in September. Chourio, grand slam, second time this season. Put himself in elite company as one of the few rookies in Major League Baseball history to hit 2 grand slams before his 21st birthday. That is just amazing. I'm telling you, Chourio, you look at what he did this week. The game-winning home run on Saturday night. Last week at AmFam Field, he had multiple key hits, clutch base hits. He's not going to get any MVP votes, but man, he too playing like a league MVP right now. Every time he comes out, bragging about Adames earlier. Hey, Chourio is amazing. And he predicted it. He predicted the grand slam on Monday. The word has it that he went to Frankie Montas a couple of bats before. He said, we're going to have the bases loaded here, and I'm going to hit a grand slam. Sure enough, Chourio did it. Guy's got a lot of confidence in himself. That's what we love. Love that. Feel good about yourself. We saw that with Giannis. And we do see that with Giannis as a member of the Milwaukee Bucks. Guy who had a lot of confidence in himself. Maybe not the free throw line, but many parts of his game and what he was going to do with the Milwaukee Brewers. Chourio's got a lot of confidence in himself. Feels good about himself. Not overconfident, but he feels great. And he's in a real good comfort zone. Let's keep him there. And you know what? Going into next season, you watch. Christian Yelich has been one of the faces of the team. Chourio's season ticket packages, schedules, you name it. Jackson Chourio is becoming the face of the Milwaukee Brewers. There's a lot of number 11 jerseys out there at AmFam Field. I see him a lot around town. And Jackson Chourio is becoming, if not already, the face of the Milwaukee Brewers at 20 years old. And we got quite a few years left with Jackson Chourio. Brewers got the 81 wins. Anybody collect on that 76.5? Anybody collect on that with me? On the over? 76.5. I told you guys that before the season, so that's easy. Savale against Steven Matz. Steven Matz is terrible. I don't bet against the Brewers here. I'm looking for another Brewers win. Savali on the hill. Let's get a big one on him as the Brewers just continue to churn away. And I mentioned the Cubs. Yep, Cubs had their 6-game winning streak come to an end. Had a 3-0 lead going into the 8th inning, and they blew it. Brian Reynolds had a 3-run shot, and then McCutchen gave him a 4-3 lead, and then the Pirates had a tack-on run there as well. Jackson Chourio and the Milwaukee Brewers. Oh, one more thing about Chourio. Jeff Passan put out the tweet. In the last 3 months, Chourio is batting .319, which is 7th in the National League. 13 homers and 51 RBIs. Yeah, kind of like an MVP. But you know what? Postseason awards and managerial awards, they don't mean a lot to me right now. Championships do. And playing championship baseball, like this Milwaukee Brewer baseball team is doing right now. I hold my breath a little bit on that, but they're playing championship baseball right now. Let's see where they are a month from now. Let's see where they are tomorrow night. After game 2 of the series, we'll be right back here. Hey, this podcast, you get it on Google, Spotify, Apple, wherever you download your podcast. We are there. YouTube, our growing YouTube page. Please support us on YouTube. Search Locked On Brewers, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell. That alerts you every time we drop an episode here on Locked On Brewers. All the content is free. And we're here talking Brewers baseball with you 12 months a year, 5 days a week during the baseball season. And we're going to get right down September. This is going to be a fun month for all of us, and hopefully a deep October. That's going to do it for me, Chuck Freeman, Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. See you tomorrow night, everybody.